Everybody fertilizes their corn with nitrogen because it's the most important nutrient for corn growth. But as we all know, nitrogen is subject to environmental loss.
And we're continually looking for ways to minimize that loss and get the full value of nitrogen. ESN helps win that battle. And what we see is that ESN is especially valuable when we band it. To understand why ESN and banding are such a good fit, it's important to understand how and when corn uses nitrogen.
Our research on nitrogen uptake shows that about half of the total amount of nitrogen the crop will uptake will be right between that V10 and tassel stage. However, we can't ignore the fact that the crop needs a certain amount of nitrogen available right from the start to set that yield trajectory.
And that's where ESN comes in. By banding that fertilizer right under the crop row, not only do we get that crop off to a good start, but the controlled release nature of ESN makes sure that there's plenty of it available during that V10 to R1 growth stage.
The controlled release of ESN is like a pre-plant and a side dress application all in one. It allows us to really balance early season nitrogen availability and season-long nitrogen availability. One huge advantage of ESN is it's way safer to place in close proximity to the seed and the young plant.
Other sources of nitrogen like urea, they're salty, they release too quickly.
Urea in the soil can hydrolyze, creating free ammonia, which can burn the roots of the seedlings, whereas ESN slowly releases.
Where the difference comes in is when we band it. Only 73% emergence when we band the full rate of urea. But even when we band the full rate of ESN, now we have 85% emergence, a very significant improvement.
You're going to be glad you used ESN when you're in a high loss environment.
Given the controlled release nature of ESN, there's less of it that's subject to loss.
If you have a lot of rain, it's not going to all wash away or turn to a gas and denitrify. It's going to be within that polymer coating.
And when we band that ESN fertilizer, we minimize those potential losses even more. Our research shows clear advantages of banding ESN, and what you can see here, where we're comparing urea broadcast with ESN broadcast and ESN band, we do have a modest increase of ESN broadcast, but we have a very consistent advantage, averages 17 bushels over urea.
You can also see some striking differences between banded ESN and banded urea.
In our research, you can clearly see that the banded ESN has greener leaves longer into the season, indicative of season-long availability of nitrogen.
We're keeping that plant alive longer later in the season, so we see bigger kernels, bigger ears, and this will translate to higher yields.
When you have a good start where you have the right nutrient with ESN, you're putting it in the right place with banding, and then you have the right timing taking advantage of that controlled release. This makes sure that adequate nitrogen is available to give the potential for a high crop yield.